Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As was mentioned after the Salah Dhuhr right now, that we are honored to have Mufti Azim here with us from Dar es Salaam in Chicago on a very important topic relevant to our youth. So inshallah, without waiting much longer, I'll ask him to start. He doesn't need an introduction as was told earlier. We all know him, mashallah.
Brothers, inshallah, if you are planning to participate, if you can kindly come close up together and sit together. Barakallahu feekum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa kafa wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad wa barik wa sallim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Subhanak la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana. Subhanak la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana. Subhanak la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana. Amma ba'd. Dear elders and brothers and mothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created this human being with lots of interesting challenges in this world, and most definitely this is why the reward of paradise is there for the one who overcomes these challenges and remains steadfast on his path towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us nafs. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has also created shaitan. This nafs and shaitan are also our great enemies. We are fitted with, when we are born, with the nafsul ammara, the nafs that is pushing a person towards sin. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has mentioned this in the Quran, as we all have heard and read many times, that the first step is that nafs which pushes a person and exhorts a person continuously to commit sin. And when a person makes an effort and purifies that standard nafs, it moves up a notch to being a nafsul lawama, a nafs that reprimands and laments over, reprimands a person and laments over its mistakes. And when a person continues to, yet it still makes a mistake, but when it does, it feels guilty about it, feels bad about it. And then when a person makes even further effort, it reaches a level of nafsul mutma'inna, where the soul is completely content with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prepared for it in paradise. And that is the one that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks in Surah Al-Fajr. Enter paradise with my servants. So this nafs, however, let's take the one that starts off from the basic one, makes major flaws, mistakes all the time that will harm a person's dunya as well as an akhirah, one or both. The nafs will tell a person that today's a cold day, I would like to just stay at home and not go to work. Or let me just call and say it's too cold, I don't want to come to work. The nafs may say, I have a new car and this is something that's amazing, nice sports car, let me drive it. Youngster just got his license, let me speed 140, 150 and see really how amazing this car is. The nafs will say to the youngster this. The nafs will tell a person who has got all sorts of medical illnesses, diabetes, whatnot, that you only got one life, enjoy. Eat all the sweets you want in the world, nothing to worry about. So the nafs will do things which are not in the long run or the short run beneficial for the person. You can understand that as how the example has been given of an-nafsu ka-tifl. The nafs is like the child, because the child is following its nafs. The child doesn't know better. What does a child do? Subhanallah, mistakes that we see our little babies and young kids at home unfortunately making when they jump from a high place and they harm themselves. When they put their hands, they try to put their wet hands into an electrical socket. When they try to take something that is shiny, whether it's a glittering knife, and try to play around with it, they unfortunately can harm themselves a lot because they're doing whatever they feel like, the nafs tells them, and they don't have the understanding that this is something harmful. So take that child and put that into what we're doing. We of course understand that these things are harmful because we have something that the child hasn't developed yet, and that's the second thing. That's called the aql. The aql is that which controls the nafs, which gives it some direction, which puts the reins around that the nafs. So a child, since his aql is not developed, will end up doing things which are very harmful. But you and I, who's alhamdulillah, we have intelligence and we have aql, we will look at it and say, this is wrong, this is not very beneficial what you're doing. And it will stop ourselves, it will stop us from doing things which are harmful. The aql, or is from, is aql is to tie. So the Arabs they wear today as well on top of their ghutra, their scarf in the Middle East. They wear an iqal or igal, the black rope around their head, donut or whatever you want to call it, right on top. So this in reality is a rope. That's what it is, and it's a parking brake. So this was used by the Arabs when they used to take their camels out and they used to travel up and about. When they used to park the camel, they used to take this rope and put it around the knees of the camel to tie it down. And when they were done with their job, when they were done and they would release the parking brake, they would take out that rope and throw it on top of their head. Now it's of course a very nice, expensive thing the person purchases, for 300-400 riyals, whatnot. But that's what it was, a simple rope that was used as a parking brake for these camels. But iqal that gives you the aspect of tying it down. So aql also ties the nafs down, puts the nafs on a leash. So the nafs doesn't do things that are harmful. And so alhamdulillah, for a great extent, a lot of the things that the children would do, we get protected from. We don't do those, and sometimes is what we call foolish things. But that's not it. The aql itself cannot always be guiding the nafs in everything. The aql itself is also needs a rope around it. And it requires someone to guide that. Otherwise the aql can end up doing very harmful things. You look at, what does aql do? Aql does great things, guides us through life. But at the same time, the aql has a hard time differentiating between a gift and a bribe, between riba and transactions, halal transactions and interest, making money off of a product and making money off of money. Aql says it's the same thing. Aql says what's the difference between zina and nikah? How does one word make a difference? 10, 20, 30 second ijab and qabul. How does that make a difference? Aql will say, how does slaughtering an animal, everything the same. You just say Bismillah, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, one thing becomes halal and the other one doesn't. Aql may say, I don't see the difference with this. I don't see the major reason why we have to do that. Or if you don't do it, what's the big deal about it? So the aql, this is the role. We want to understand the difference between these intricacies. And most definitely the aql has absolutely no idea about what's going to happen after death. How does a soul leave? What is the soul? What happens in the grave? What will happen in the next life? These things, the aql says error. Like you put in a calculator, a computation that it cannot handle, use the old calculators to give you an error message. So the aql also says, I can't handle this. This is beyond my bandwidth. There's no way I don't have answers to this. And to give you an example of why aql itself, amazing bright minds, doesn't necessarily mean good for the world or good for themselves, is you look at all the most famous tyrants, oppressive rulers, dictators of the past century and as well as the centuries before. The orchestrators of World War I and World War II and all the other world wars, as well as the wars that are taking place today. Those who have single-handedly were responsible for killing 25 to 30 million people, one person, two persons, taking responsibility for killing that many people, unimaginable numbers. They were the most intelligent of people. They were so smart, unbelievably smart people. They knew what propaganda was. They knew how marketing worked. All that stuff before marketers and propagandists probably were around. They had this knack of how to control crowds. They had a knack of how to create a support amongst the public for their agenda, no matter how harmful it was. They had aql, they had smart, but that aql was not leashed. And hence it created major damage to this world and is continuing to cause major damage today. People who are super intelligent, in whose hands are arms, in whose hands are all sorts of weapons. And unfortunately they're harming people, harming the ummah of all sorts. Because that aql is not leashed properly. And what is the thing that's going to leash the aql? It is the nur of iman, the nur of sharia. When this nur of sharia and nur of iman, which we call wahi and revelation, this is the one thing that has the ability to leash the mind, which is an amazing thing. But unleashed, it can cause a lot of damage. When you leash it with this iman, alhamdulillah, great things can happen. And a person can go and join the realm of angels and go above and beyond the angels. A person can suppress the shahwa inside, suppress the desires and the lust inside, and give strength to the aql. That's what the deen is going to do. That's what the noor of the deen is going to do. That control the shahwa, control the lusts, and weaken that, control the nafs, weaken that, the nafs al-ammara especially, and give strength to the ruhaniyah, to the spirituality. So now this deen will come and say, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you one life, few years to live in this world, limited resources, make the most usage of it, try your best to bring happiness and khair and goodness to this world. That's what the deen will say. So the deen will teach us how to act with our spouses, how to act with our children, how to act with our neighbors, how to act with animals, how to act with plants, how to act with the universe, how to interact with the earth. The deen will teach every aspect of it, including adab with everyone. This is the gift of the deen. This is the gift of wahi. And this is something you and I have, alhamdulillah. That's why we prayed Salatul Dhuhr in the masjid, and that's why we're sitting here listening to the talk of deen. We're so blessed. There are people who don't have this blessing. They have never tasted this. They have no idea what it means to have the beautiful teachings of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam with them. Dear friends, every aspect of our life, when it's dictated by deen, will have immense happiness. Now let's see where we are today. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has brought to us to this country. Most of us who are sitting here are children of immigrants or immigrants. And we came with little means, or our parents came with little means into this part of the world. And today Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the life that 60 or 80 years ago a king did not have. No king of the world was able to travel from here to California, the distance, in 4 hours. No king of the world would be able to travel 100 years ago cross the seas from here to London within 5 hours or 6 hours. No king of the world at that time had AC or a heater in their car, or even had a car. Didn't have blenders, didn't have stoves and ovens and of the caliber that we have, of course, today. Didn't have any of these things. So each one of us who's sitting here leads a life that is more comfortable and in terms of material things more superior to that of a king 100 years ago. Is that so? Right. So everyone sitting here, this is the lifestyle we have. So we have, alhamdulillah, improved on those material aspects tremendously, as not just us in this room, but of course the world itself. But we're seeing that along with this, the happiness and the quality of life is not necessarily improving. And what was happened 20, 30 years ago, we're seeing in a small apartment or a small home, or back home in wherever we came from or our parents came from, in very humble dwellings, so many people shared a room, shared a house. And there seemed to be enough space for everyone there, and everyone seemed to get along, or at least everyone spent time with one another. There was that sense of unity within the family, a sense of just family, which today we have been given these beautiful rooms and beautiful comfortable houses that are supposed to make our stay in home even more comfortable. But how many times we're seeing people running away from their homes, or children and adults not wanting to go home. I mean, it happens. Many times you have a youth halaqah and there's some people who don't want to go home. They want to stay in the masjid. Like, really, mashallah, it's so late. Shouldn't you be going home? No, they don't want to go home, unfortunately, because of what's going on at home. They would rather just, if there's possibility, stay as much as possible. If not in the masjid, somewhere else, but outside of the home, because the environment of home is toxic. Dear brothers, our homes, unfortunately today, it's very sad. As much as materialistically we're moving forward, the homes are falling apart. And every single student and every single youngster has got a story to share. We don't have enough hours in the day to listen to the stories. We don't even have the emotional strength, and I should say the spiritual strength, even to listen, digest, and then come up with solutions for the youth's issues of what takes place within the homes. So much discord, so much infighting, so much disunity. It is pushing the youth and the young adults to the worst possible thing you can imagine, to the brinks of wanting to take their lives, and to the brinks of losing their faith. So this is something which I am encountering more and more recently, is youth who are attempting to take their life, who are trying to commit suicide, and some who have unfortunately successfully committed suicide. And this is something which I wasn't accustomed to, I wasn't aware of, I wasn't exposed to, let's say a few decades ago. But there's something definitely going on in our homes, in the community's homes, and in the world, that there is such a high rate. And this, of course, this is not the Muslim community only. Most definitely, this is a reflection of what's happening in society in general. Just one of the universities, what is it, nearby one of the universities in New Jersey, if I'm not mistaken. Just yesterday I read just a headline, 3 suicides within the past 2 months. And now the university, university, which one, I don't remember which one it was, are very worried, like, why is this happening here? So there's definitely something happening. That lot is being provided for the kids. But see, the thing is, the parents are focusing, and as our society, we're focusing on fulfilling the material needs of our kids. And we think when we have done that, we have fulfilled our obligation. So as long as for a little child, a new pair of shoes, a new backpack, a new type of bicycle, or a new rollerblades, or a new computer game, of course, and a new phone, of course, unfortunately, these type of things create this sense that, of course, enjoyment and happiness within the child, but the parent also thinks that I have done my job and responsibility of doing what I need to do. And that same child, you'll see that his emotional needs are not being fulfilled. And of course, his spiritual needs are not being fulfilled. So that mahabbah and love that's supposed to be enjoyed from the parents, that's just not there. So it's a continuous, it's like, sweatshop kids working for $1 an hour, trying to produce as many shoes as they can in the sweatshops overseas. That's what's happening with kids. Like, quick, I need you to get your homework done. I need you to get your math stuff done. I need you to get through the sports club. I need to get this stuff done. All these checklists, we got to get this done. Look at what she's doing. Look at what he's doing. Look at where I have 3 kids. I'm telling you, I mean, my young kids are not all of them in that old, but still those who are in that school age, of course. But that's the environment. You talk to anyone. What are your kids doing? Well, everyone wants to come know what the imam's kids are. Where are they going, right? Which school are they going? Everyone wants to know. What is his schedule? Right? How many Jews has he memorized? How much hifz has he done? Most people say, oh, he probably is already 5-year-old, probably already hafid. What, starting qira'at now or what? Right? That is the, like, literally the stress that's out there. They will ask the kids, hey, how many Jews did you memorize? A poor kid has to answer these questions that because society is putting on him. This is how you're going to measure success, based on not even material success. Islamically too, we're thinking that the memorization of Quran is a sign of achievement only. An aspect of whether salah is in there, no one's asking, okay, how many salah a day are you praying? That's definitely a major teller of success. Right? What is your akhlaq when a guest walks into the house? How does a son interact? How does a young child, what is his method of say salam, welcoming the guest? How does he interact with them? That's, of course, a great major teller of success. How is he with his dad? He's cool, he's relaxed, but does he become too funny, too relaxed, too free with him? I was sitting with a scholar once, a bit less than a year ago, and his children were around him, and we were sitting eating at his table. And I asked him, how old is your daughter? So he said, like, 5. So his 7-year-old or 8-year-old son corrected him and he said, Baba, no, she's 6. Right? It happens in everyone's home. SubhanAllah, he looked at him and he said, what did you just say? Are you correcting your dad? Are you correcting your dad? And he said, I'm sorry. And I said, SubhanAllah, in reality, there is no reason for you to correct your dad on the age of your daughter, because it makes no difference to me. I'm not a dentist, or I'm not a doctor who's trying to give her some type of prescription. I'm a random guest who showed up to the house. For me, it makes no difference whether it's 5 or 6. Why would you correct your father in front of a guest? That's deep. But that's the adab that's unfortunately rarely taught. Right? That's rarely taught. That doesn't mean that there's no mahabbah and love there. I'm all about going to the park and giving hugs and kisses. But at the same time, we have to also show our kids that what is the etiquette of the dad? What is the etiquette of the mother? What is the etiquette of guest? That's something that you have to strike that amazing balance when being for the kids, being loving and caring and approachable, and at the same time knowing that your strictness with them is part of the entire love for them, because you want them to have adab. And there's literally no better gift. The Prophet himself said that any father can give. He said that. مَا نَحَلَ وَالِدٌ وَلَدْ أَفْضَلْ مِنْ أَدَبٍ حَسَنٍ أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. No father has ever given his son a better gift than that of etiquette. So when you see children who don't have etiquette, it starts off with parents. Right? It starts off, when you see kids, like yesterday, I was supposed to speak on a whole different topic. My 25 minutes went on a different topic last night, because there was so much noise of all the kids running around during Isha Salah and after Isha Salah. So I thought this was a very appropriate thing to speak about. The fact that it's not the poor. I mean, why are you screaming at a little kid? 5-year-old, he doesn't know any better. He's going to model the behavior that's being shown to him. And he's being shown that it is completely permissible and allowed for you to run around. It's okay, because this is not a sacred spot. Yes, if when we go to the library, the public library, we have to be very careful. And we're going to speak softly to our father and mom too, because this is the etiquette. Because my dad also speaks to me softly over here. My mom is also speaking to me softly. So I'm not going to be running around. He knows that. None of our kids, little ones if you have any, are going to be doing, playing around making circus in the library. Because they know the etiquette of a simple public library. That same kid will be screaming on the way back home from there. Dad, ice cream, or whatever else he's saying. But in the library, quiet. Because he's seeing the behavior, he's modeling the behavior he's seen. So we've taught him that this is a spot that you need to be quiet. Our masajid, if we don't teach, I'm not saying don't bring kids. Bring the kids as well, fine, in an appropriate place. But we have to teach them the etiquette. That when we come here, absolute silence. Reward them on the way back. Warn them before we bring them here. And teach them how to sit. If they don't know how to sit like the way these young boys, mashallah, are sitting here, if they're not taught by their dads that this is how you sit in a program, they'll never learn. When they reach 13, 14, 15 year olds, program will be going on and they'll be in the back playing basketball. They'll be playing soccer. They'll be on their video games, whatnot. Because they haven't been accustomed, they haven't been taught. That teaching takes place from dads and moms. And so that's the type of education that we feel like as parents, many times we feel like if we've taken care of all the material needs, these things aren't necessary. He goes, I'm paying $900 for an Islamic school or $1,000 for Islamic. What else do you want me to do? That's what they say. Well, there's a lot more. The education that takes place in Islamic school in reality, or any school for that matter, is very limited compared to the education that takes place within the home. As much as we say, mashallah, he learned 3, 4, 5. I know dads always come say, I'm so proud of my son and the Islamic school is going to, he's already memorized 10 surahs. I'd be happy too. Yeah, it's great. In kindergarten, pre-K, or preschool, he memorized 10 surahs. But deen is not about memorizing surahs. It really isn't. At this age, they have a great memory. It's good to get stuff done. But there's so much more to deen than that. Which is, for example, the love for Allah, the tawheed that's got to be placed in there, the genuine appreciation for sunnah, the love for sunnah, following sunnah from a young age, right? The etiquette of gatherings, the etiquette with the Quran. That is something that we're losing. Brother came to me after Asr Salah one day, very worried with his daughter. And what did he say to me? How did he ask me? I got a very serious question for you. And it's about my daughter. I said, Ya Allah, what happened? Is everything okay? And he said, yeah, but I got a big problem. I said, what happened? What happened, bhai? He said, I'm bringing my daughter to the maktab. I said, okay, and then? I was scared, like, what happened to your daughter? And we come in the maktab. He said, on the way back to the maktab, her book bag, it fell from the seat and her qaida fell to the ground. So I said, then? He said, yeah, what am I supposed to do? The qaida fell to the ground. That's what the father is saying. And the daughter is listening. And I said, subhanAllah. That's amazing. Like the genuine fear he had that my daughter ended up disrespecting the qaida, not the Quran Sharif, which is, of course, there's Quran pages in there too, but that it fell to the ground and that this is, a very major disrespect to the Quran. Now that father's got that fikr and concern because he's got that from his, childhood. Yes, is that like, you're gonna say dalil and this and that? There are different things to support stuff like that, but you don't need a dalil for adab, period. The more adab, you can never have too much adab. The more adab you have, the better. وَمَنْ يُعَظِّمْ شَعَائِرَ اللَّهِ فَإِنَّهَا مِنْ تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ. Whoever honors the signs of Allah, Allah says, whoever honors the symbols of Allah, this is the sign of the taqwa in the heart. So now that the adab the father is showing, of course the daughter is listening to that and sees that, fine, I have to protect my sipara, my qaida. I have to put it in a nice bag. I need to touch it with wudu. 5-year-old, 6-year-old, I need to touch it with wudu. I need to make sure I put my qaida book or as on the top of all my other books. So what are you teaching them? The deen comes always on the top. Everything on top, deen has to be at the very top. You're gonna have to hold in your right hand. Everything you can hold in your left. But I'm gonna hold my books in my right hand. I'm gonna carry it in front. I'm not gonna throw it in the back. Right? I'm not gonna throw it on the floor. I'm not gonna put it on the chair. So these types of etiquettes, when the child sees that, and this is one of the greatest gifts that you and I can give. Etiquette with grandparents. Etiquette with grandparents. Umuman, what happens? Say chalta. Which grandmother and grandfather is going to say, hey, adab se baat karo? None of us, my mom and dad would never say that to my kids. Right? Most of us parents would never say that. Chota bacha hai, leave him. But it's actually, just because our parents are saying that, if they're around, mashallah, then that doesn't mean, that's out of their niceness they're saying that. But you and I as a father and a mother, we have to know that this is something that is not acceptable. No one dare speak in a raised tone or in a manner that is not appropriate to the parents. So this is You know, one of my teachers said, many times we think about providing opportunities to our children that we didn't have. That's what fathers say. I came to America, I want to give you a life and opportunities I didn't have when I was growing up overseas. So he said, one of my teachers said, why not start providing them opportunities that you did have when you're growing up? You did have. And you had a home of love. You had a home of connection with your kids. You had a home where everyone ate a meal together at least twice a day, or minimum once a day. You had an environment where everyone possibly would recite Quran after Fajr at home, right, before they went on to school out loud. You had an environment where moms and dads knew what was going on, right? So these things we're seeing are not taking place, because of which materialistically we're moving very fast and forward. But unfortunately, when it comes to the quality of life, happiness, that definitely is not there, what it used to be. Unless in those homes in which deen is there, yes. But in the houses that deen is not there, we're seeing that this materialistic materialism increase has not brought happiness within the homes. Dear brothers and sisters, what is the way forward for us is that we need to realize and understand that one of the main causes of this corruption within the homes is the unfettered use of the technology and the internet that is creating such toxicity within our homes, and is unfortunately affecting the minds of the young ones. The things that they are reading, the things they are listening to, the things they are hearing, as creating lots of doubts about everything, including doubts about Islam. One of the brothers who at Fajr Salah, a very successful, apparently I don't know him, but a very successful physician, I was told, and a very well-known doctor of that area. He right after my talk after Fajr, he came and he said, I'm very worried. He said, because I'm paying top-notch dollar for my education of my daughter, but my 11-year-old is asking me about taqdeer, and is asking about if Allah knows already where we're going, what's the point of creation, and this and that. And he says, man, I don't know how to answer these things. And she's already asking me these tough questions and, criticizing, objecting, these type of things. What am I supposed to do in that? At least he woke up to this. Many times kids don't openly say this to their parents, but these thoughts are going through their back of their mind. That's our responsibility. I'll tell you, for example, right? This is thoughts I'm sharing with you. Hopefully something is of benefit. Recently, an 11-year-old, I came across him in the masjid. And I sat down. I don't speak to him. I really don't know him at all. But I sat down with him and I spoke for a few words to him, and I told him, what's the difference between a good touch and a bad touch? And he said, no. Right? It's an 11-year-old, but he's a young kid. And I explained to him in a bit of detail. And I said, okay, do you ever feel like this happens? He says, yes, there are older people who I know who put their hands around my shoulders and stuff like that, and I don't feel comfortable. I said, well, okay, good. Well, now you know what's going on. You know that feeling, and you know this is what is going on. And I explained to him. I asked him, did your parents ever have this discussion? Of course not. We don't have this discussion of these type of things. That even in the houses of Allah, you have to be super careful. You can't just dump the kid for Saturday school, Sunday school, maktab or whatnot, and don't know what's happening. Or okay, we'll come back half an hour. I'll pick up my kid half hour later because I'm late from work. You know that how often this happens, right? What's taking place in the house of Allah, unfortunately, yes, in a place with Muslims, we don't know. So as parents, we have to be on top of our game, knowing what our kids are going through and being preemptive, talking to them before an issue strikes. So recently someone said, okay, this LGBTQ issue, when should I start talking about to my kids? Well, I said, talk to them as soon as you had to start filtering, right? You got to start getting ideas. How every day have a debriefing with them. How was school? What happened? Just pick their minds. Tell me. Oh, nothing. No, we want to know. Show interest. Because there's a time if you show interest, inshallah, they will speak. Eventually, once they get to high school years, it's very hard to have them speaking. But if they create a habit from a young age to come and debrief to their mom or dad every single day, then hopefully later on they'll do that. So who are all your classmates? Ideally, we want to know all their classmates, and we want to know who their friends are. When they're young, they're still open up, and they'll tell you who they are. So now if a kindergartner or first grader will say, one of my best friend's mom is Alisa or whatnot, and then, okay, fine, a month down the line, says, oh, mom, I just heard something about it's interesting about Alisa. Alisa's got 2 moms. Right? This is happening, by the way, right? So now if this is a first grader who comes and tells their mom, now you already have to start getting into this conversation at a pre-KK, first, second grade level. if their classmates are coming from such families in which they have same gender people in their homes as parents, then it's going to definitely cause confusion. You can't leave this discussion up to 10th grade, 12th grade, or college. Unfortunately, you have to start the discussion now. So whatever these ideas are there, they're listening to these things, but they don't share it. And I've had this experience. I'm telling you that you have to keep on feeling, putting out throw out stuff. Let's see, like you go fishing and you put a worm there and you see when the fish bites. Similarly, you gotta throw the fishing rod at the kids and like throw bait to see what do they grab, and they respond. You can see the response. All of a sudden they're startled, or they understand what you just said. Like, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Khalas, you're getting somewhere now. We kind of have to like pretty much be psychologists with our kids. Ilm nafs, right? This is what we need. We need to understand that these kids are going through lots of challenging things in the school that you and I, growing up, did not have to worry about. So those who had studied overseas, you pretty much had to worry about maybe just grades and bullies. Then those who are here, pre 9/11 era was still okay. Post 9/11 era, yes, Islamophobia started in the schools, right? So that's a challenge that you had to deal with. Now, beyond the Islamophobia and beyond brown hating, beyond that, it's going to be these things that we're speaking about. That the immorality and the whole moral compass has been shifted, and now we're being forced to rethink about everything. So one of the students of our institution, he was giving a halaqah at his home, and he had his cousins over, and he had his cousins' friends over, just at home, nice small halaqah. And he was shocked. He told me, Mufti Sahib, I can't believe it, in my own home, I'm speaking about the whole LGBTQ issue. And my cousins are saying, and my cousins' friends are saying, wait man, why are you a homophobe? What's wrong with you? And he's like, can't believe this is happening to me in my house. People are calling me homophobe. Like, even though he was giving a nice explanation, he's a good student, he knows how to speak. He's like, I'm giving a nice understanding of why we don't do these things. No one's bashing on anyone. No one is inciting violence, of course. None of that stuff. But the thing is, the mentality slowly has changed. So now we are foreigners within our own homes. We are outsiders within our own homes. We are ghuraba and strangers within our own homes. Our ideas, what you and I, this few group of brothers who are sitting here, our ideas are foreign within our own homes. For many people, foreign to our own kids, unfortunately. Inshallah, not those who are sitting here, but it is happening to too many places. And actually, many of us may think that they're not foreign in our home, just because we don't hear a response. Okay? So, since we teach in the madrasa, right, same thing happens. When I say this is a rule, we're going to start this today. You don't see, Riba, that better not happen, right? Everyone says, no way, we can't do that, right? Alhamdulillah, that usually doesn't happen in a madrasa. But if their students are silent, that doesn't mean that they're necessarily accepting it or okay with that. Correct? You can imagine that. Out of respect, they won't see anything. Now you have to get feelers later on. You have a few students to say, what's the vibe out there? Is it going to work or not? Because you don't want to say something which will get backfired completely, and then the rule is not followed and is disrespected, and that creates even a vibe of, it doesn't make a difference. We don't have to follow rules, or we don't have to respect our teachers. Just because someone is silent and they're just nodding their head doesn't mean that they have fully understood or appreciated or understand where you're coming from. So if in homes kids don't say anything, that doesn't mean that everything is fine. And I'm telling you, dear brothers, the ones, all of us sitting here, we come from, alhamdulillah, homes in which I can see are practicing the deen, I'm sure regular in our salah, regular in our amal, ibadah. These homes are having a lot of problems nowadays. So I'll give you an example of a person who comes, since we're speaking about youth issues, that's my topic, right? So we have a person who comes and who tells me he's waiting outside an office to speak to me. It's already 10 o'clock p.m. and he says, I'm waiting. You can do whatever you want, I'm sitting here. Afterwards, I bring him in. I said, what's wrong? And he's fuming. He's so upset. My son is a half of the Quran. He hasn't touched the Quran for 3 months, 4 months. He used to leave Tarawih every year. This year he hasn't even led Tarawih. And now he has completely stopped praying. He doesn't pray. And I tell him to pray, I tell him to pray, I tell him to pray, and he doesn't pray. And now he tells me, I hate you. 15-year-old. So he tells me, his dad, I hate you. And he says, I'm going to start praying. He said, I went to my parents' house and he told my parents, dad keeps on telling me to pray. I'm going to pray when he dies. After he dies, I'll start praying. So, and the dad is just furious. He just stormed out of the house. He said, my home has become a mess. I have no respect in my home. This is crazy. He doesn't pray, it's that. And I'm just looking at him, and I said, well, so what did you tell him today? He said, I told him, you have to pray, you have to pray. There's no Islam without prayer. And you have to read Quran, and besides, I don't care about anything else. So I told him, uncle, you know, brother, you have to stop doing this. You have to stop doing this. You can't. You can't. He said, what do you mean you can't? I said, you can't keep on telling your kid to pray and to start. He knows that. No, but I can't allow him to just sit there and do that. He's just so frustrating. And so I said, when your son tells you he hates you on your face, you've got some major problems at home. Okay? And you need to take a step back and revisit how in the world you're parenting. Now in the masjid, the brothers, front row, never misses salah, never misses the fajr, never, 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 no matter what happens, always there in all the dini activities. In the middle of this, there was a knock on the door late at night, and I said, who's coming now? I look at the cameras, I said, you know what, your son's here. And subhanAllah, he opened the door. He said, I'm speaking to the Shaykh or the Mufti. And the person, he says, no, I want to speak to him. The 15-year-old says. So I told him, I told the dad, you know what, can you please, he came all the way here, let me talk to him. I walked in and he was just, huffing and puffing. I'm like, what's up, what's wrong? Relax, talk. And he's like, my dad, I'm just so irritated, I'm so annoyed. I'm like, what does he do? What does make you so mad? And he said, all he cares about, all he tells me is just salah. That's it, man. There's no life besides that. There's no discussion. And then he he insults me. He uses in Urdu, Desi, whatever words of beqoof, bagal, and stuff like that. And he's like, I am not those things. I refuse to be, I will not accept being called out like that. Right? This is what he's saying. He says, I don't want to be called, I'm tired of being called out these names. And all he cares about this. There's nothing. If I read Quran, you didn't read enough. You didn't read loud enough. You didn't read slow enough. You didn't read this enough. Salah, how many did you read? Where did you read? How did you read? And brothers, what I'm telling you, I'm sure many of you, it resonates with you. It resonates with me for sure. That sometimes we are in this frenzy as hardcore practicing Muslims that we want our children to have this certain things deliverables, like we're ordering a pizza. Hey, where's my fries? I order fries with it. Where's my drink? Come on. You pay $3 or $5, you expect to get everything in part of the meal. So the kids, yes to all of these things. If something didn't happen, there might be a reason why it didn't happen. How often do we sit and ask? My brother was noticing one thing. He said, when the cop pulls over someone, it happened this morning as well, unfortunately. It pulls over and says, sir, do you know why I pulled you over? Right? That's the first thing to ask. And then you say usually, yeah, whatever, or I don't know, or yeah, I was speeding. Well, what do they ask after that? No, before they get to that, they ask you, is everything okay? Well, that happened this morning. Where are you headed? I told him I'm going to give a talk after Fajr. We got to go lead Fajr and give a talk. Right? So he's like, where are you going? Look at, before he could have just issued a ticket. Right? None, I have never had that. A cop said, khalas, here's the ticket. Even on the phone, anything you're doing, you're breaking the law, they will ask you your reason for that. First find out the sabab and the means, reason for that. And then maybe there's a legitimate reason. You've got someone in the back who's having an emergency. You got to run to the hospital. Of course you're speeding, for example, right? So they will ask, how often do we sit and ask our son or daughter when you hear about it from our wife, he's done this, she's done that, Or do we just scold them, say, why did you not do that? Maybe there's a misunderstanding by the mom as well. Maybe there's a misunderstanding by us. So before we pass any judgment, we have to investigate. Let's sit down, relax, sit down. What happened? Give me your side of the story. Right? You figure that out. So this kid, he was just so frustrated, and I gave him, of course, his part of the deal of how he needs to start respecting and try to explain to him certain things, and I let him go. I called his dad in, I told him, you need to stop this, and he says, no, I can't. And then I had to literally kind of be a little bit loud with him, and I had to tell him. I said, if you do this, continue doing this, the trajectory you're taking it, give it 1 year, and your child is going to be an open non-Muslim, an atheist. And this is exactly what I'm seeing on the road. And I said, your child is exactly fitting into the category of what I'm seeing. Muslim kids, Islamic school graduates, hufaz, coming from practicing Muslim homes, who are no longer Muslims today. We're not, the ones who never came to Sunday school, never came for Jummah, where they at, we don't even know what's going on, unfortunately, how far out they are. We're talking about Hamara Rona Kis Baat Pe. What are we crying about? The ones who had everything, had all the exposure, yet they went the other way. So, when was, I think I came in Ramadan here, right? I came in Ramadan after Dhuhr once. So this past 3 months, this was after Ramadan, September, October, November, this ex-Muslims of North America, an organization, started putting out billboards, including in Chicago, big billboards. And in the laptop is set up downstairs probably. So on the way out, you can stop by and take a look at that picture, what I'm talking about. So there's a slide there, I have a picture of it. And this huge billboard that they're paying for, that is reporting a 2018 US study that was done here, that 1 out of 4, yani 24% of Muslims born in Muslim homes in America today are not Muslim. 1 out of 4, 24%. 1 out of 4 Muslims born in Muslim homes are not Muslims anymore. Mostly are, atheists or agnostics. And there's another thing I don't want to even say. It's so bad. They've made a bus stop where you have the bench. The ads that they put on the bench are also horrible. Now this is being done by a group called Ex-Muslims of North America, founded by 2 Pakistanis. So obviously they came from a Muslim country, came from Muslim area, whatnot, but they have chosen to not only leave Islam but make this their purpose in life. To promote, why are these things, why is this in Devon Street in Chicago? This billboard is there, and near MCC as well. What's the purpose of it? The purpose of it is to tell people that you can join on our ranks. We are the growing majority, silent majority, ex-Muslims. So if you're feeling doubt, if your mom and dad have pushed you or you don't feel like they're right, come join us. This is welcome to the new world. Now last week, when I was sharing something and I mentioned this statistic and whatnot, one of the brothers sitting in the crowd came up to me right after the talk and he said, Sheikh, that organization, the founder of that is a classmate of mine in Karachi from 5th grade. And I know him in and out. He mentioned his name and everything. I said, wow, subhanAllah, what can you tell me about him? And he said, well, some of the points you're saying, because usually I mention 3 points of why people are leaving the fold of Islam. One is doubts, one is desires, and one is bad relationships that they had and bad experiences they had with Muslims, especially their parents and faith leaders, Quran teacher, Hifz teacher, Imam or whatnot. Starting off with parents most of the time. So he said his parents were religious. This kid's parents were religious, at least one of them was, but they were very harsh with him. And then after that they got into a nasty divorce. And because of which he began to hate religion and hate his parents and hate religion. And that just from that time, at a young age, just made him turn off from Islam based on what he had witnessed his parents doing amongst themselves and with him. So the harshness pushed him away. The strictness, the dryness, and then the loss of akhlaq and not practicing Islam within the home. So these began to, and as parents, people begin to think, if my responsibility towards my child is to ensure that he's finished his hifz, that he's finished Islamic school, he's finished Fulan program, whatnot. We're not thinking, and we say, Abhi, one person just told me right now, he said, "Mere apne bachon ki bahut fikr." He called me now from Chicago. I am very worried about my 11-year-old. He's already hafiz, but he's super smart. I want him to come to the madrasa and whatnot. मैं तो ज़्यादा दीनदार आदमी नहीं हूँ, दाढ़ी टोपी का ख्याल नहीं रखता हूँ. He's telling me, I don't even know who he is, right? मैं ऐसा नहीं हूँ, and मगर लेकिन बच्चों की बड़ी फिक्र है. I'm very worried about my kids. Now I'm thinking, I hope it's just दाढ़ी टोपी and not like not even praying. I don't know what degree he's at. I don't know him. But this statement that I'm not a very religious, but inshallah I want my kid to be pious. Isn't that what goes on nowadays? Isn't that what we hear? One brother openly, he told me, he runs a very successful restaurant. He said, we have a pact, we have an understanding in our family. Every person in our family sends one kid to the madrasa for hifz. Inshallah, ye hamare liye kafi ho jayega. This is going to be sufficient. Besides that, we don't worry about anything else. So this is, most people, their actions speak louder than words. This brother was a little bit frank, so he just said it. But most people's actions speak louder than the words. You ask a hifz kid in any hifz school, walk around the masajid, drive around the masajid here, pick up kids, did you pray your fajr today? Ask them. All the full-time hifz students. Ask them how many of you prayed your fajr. Ask them how many of your dads prayed fajr today. Right? And you will be very surprised what answers you'll get. Okay? When did your mom pray fajr? Did your dad pray fajr? And they were with the kids, they'll be very frank. They'll tell you. They're not afraid. They'll just tell you what it is. This week, how many times did your dad pray? Or you pray? So, my dad doesn't pray, so he doesn't wake me up either. That's it. That's what they'll say. You live down the street. Does your dad come to the masjid? No, he doesn't. Now, this type of behavior is exactly what tells people that religion is not a serious thing for our parents. They just do it. It keeps, it's a cultural identity. It gives you a little sense of family and whatnot. And that's what the atheists are saying. That religion, all it does, it gives you something to rile around and to give you a sense of community. Why can't we atheists do the same thing with our lifestyle and with our beliefs, which is a belief, of course, it is a belief itself. So we have to combat that, dear brothers, with the doubts with knowledge, the desires with your gatherings of dhikr, gatherings of recitation of Quran, speaking about the mercy and the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, explaining the rationale as much as we can, the hikmah behind things, especially the hikmah and the wisdom of the fact that you're doing this for yourself, not doing it for me. And I'm going to go in my hereafter qabr, and you're going to, because they will say, why are you not doing this? So don't say, hey, don't ask that question. Say, yes, you're right. I'm weak as well, but this is my thing. This is my issue. I'm trying my best. We both try. We will both have to, but we are doing it for ourselves. Allah, talk about the ihsan of Allah upon us. Talk about the ni'am of Allah upon us. And recite all the masnoon du'as. Translate the masnoon du'as that are there. Explain to them why we're reading a masnoon du'a at every juncture. There's beautiful meanings of all the ad'iyah that are to be recited whenever we do any action. And all of them start off with what? Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah this, Alhamdulillah that. Because you're supposed to be thinking about Allah in all aspects. And when the child begins to understand that I am indebted to Allah, we go in nature, hikes, walks, whatnot, interact with nature, and explain and let them see with their own eyes the qudra and the azam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So focusing on the nature, focusing on the verses of the Quran, and third thing would be focusing on the events and happenings of the world. Events and happenings around the world. And to allow them to see the qudra of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in people getting honored, people being disgraced, people becoming poor, people becoming rich, people becoming healthy, people becoming sick, all these things. When we speak about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in these three things, what I say, verses of the Quran, ayat Quraniya, and then we said the nature, ayat Kawniyah, and then we said actions of Allah or events of the world, ayat Takwiniyah. These three things, when we focus on it, inshallah, this will create the mahabba of Allah, the greatness of Allah in their hearts. When you get to know the Amir, the one who's giving the orders, then the greatness of the Amr and the command also will come into the heart. But that usually, does that happen? We straight focus on the command, do's and don'ts, without focusing on the underlying thing before that, which is who Allah is and where did this command come from. So dear friends, when we start focusing on these aspects, we'll realize that our children have a lot of emotions. 4-year-old, 5-year-old, no one cared about us when we were 4 or 5 years old. No one really valued our opinions. That's the reality of it. I'm the youngest of the family. Who cares what kid says, right? But today we can't do that. Every single child is, I don't know, something in the water or whatnot, but they say, they will literally say, like one person was telling his child says, about you have to eat this for dinner. He says, 5, 6-year-old says, am I not entitled to choose what I want to eat? Like, what did you just say right now? Okay, but this is happening. So if a person does not show honor and respect to the child and doesn't value their opinion, and if we don't accept it, fine, no problem, but explain to them why, how. You have to explain to them these things. Don't just say keep quiet in front of elders. Adab sikhana hai. What is adab? Explain it, not just know. The rationale behind adab and how they will also be respected, and how without adab the hierarchy falls apart and there's chaos. All of those things got to be spelled out. And it's not like that they don't understand. They will understand. Even the topic of atheism, I'm telling you, you have to talk about it. The most famous atheist societies now have written books for, you've got like Islamic books for 4th graders, 3rd graders to kind of introduce them to a lot of the concepts. I saw, maybe some of you have seen it, they released these books about like a month ago or so to be introduced, available on bookstores, an introduction guide to atheism for kids in the 3rd, 4th grade, to start allowing them to get accustomed to this. So in that type of environment, when you are there, we cannot say these topics we can't speak about. We have to address these things straight up and in a very nice manner, create an environment, safe zone I call it, where children can openly ask us questions and they're not afraid of reprisal. They're not afraid of being downplayed. They're not afraid of someone screaming at them. They'll be willing to, that they're being appreciated and accepted and that their questions are being answered. Inshallah tabarak wa ta'ala. If we create that environment, so what will happen? We'll raise bi'idhni ta'ala a group of confident Muslims who are willing to practice their faith openly in public spaces, can pray openly, can ask for their rights, can take permission for Jum'ah, the least stuff, and can, as I say, wear their Islam on themselves wherever they go. Not worried that I need to mingle in. And I need to, like for example, when you talk about, we were just talking, myself and Hafiz Mohsin were speaking about the haircuts. Why children today love to have all sorts of different haircuts. And you have to have a conversation with them. Why do you want to have that type of haircut? For me, it's a very big issue. When I see that a Hafiz or whatnot has a crooked haircut or another type of, uneven haircut, there's a reason that's happening. Usually as soon as they leave madrasa, this happens. And some madrasas don't even care about this, so it happens when they're in madrasa. It's a telltale sign of the mentality that I need to fit in. And I need to do things which are unnatural in order to fit in, and that's just the beginning of it. What is yet to come is much, 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 much more. When we see something like that, instead of just saying, why, or just get rid of it, or not to worry about it. It's okay, chalta hai, it's all right. We need to realize that this is a telltale sign of problems that will yet to come. Explain to them why our sunnah has prohibited uneven haircuts. And explain to them that this is not, the whole deen is not in the beard, the whole deen is not in the haircut. But this is part of the deen. And when a person changes his ways simply to mingle in and get accepted in the class, many more things will happen eventually, because your whole class is going to be anti-religion, not just anti-Islam, anti-religion. How are you going to be able to stand up to them and say, I believe in the unseen? These are issues that are going to come. So I would even go to this extent to have conversations, okay, a mock debate. But in order to do that, we have to ourselves know our stuff, okay? But every son and daughter of all of us needs to know how to prove the existence of Allah logically. Everyone needs to know how to explain someone who says that predestiny and free will, how does that work? Taqdeer and tadbir. Everyone has to know, why do evil things happen in the world? Why does evil exist? And why do Muslims suffer? Everyone needs to know why Muslims go to paradise and those who die in kufr, even though their sin is for 80 years, they're going to hellfire forever. Everyone needs to know, how do we know that the Prophet ﷺ is seriously a prophet of Allah? And how do we know even the Quran is genuinely a book of Allah, not something that was just passed down? These questions are not advanced topics anymore. This is school 101. Everyone is asking these questions in 4th, 5th, 6th grade. So when was the last time we ever had a conversation of this sort at home? Maybe many of us would, and I presume we aren't comfortable even answering these questions. So at least now provide solutions to them. Give them. Just because you don't know Algebra 2 and you're not well versed with it because it's been a long time since you studied it, that doesn't mean you're going to deprive your kid of studying it. You're going to send him to a tutor, you're going to get him the help is required. Or we'll learn it again and teach him. So when it comes to these topics, connect them with scholars and ourselves learn it possible to have these discussions with them. So that a stitch in time saves 9. Teach them how to swim before they jump into the ocean, which is high school and college and beyond that. Inshallah tabarak wa ta'ala, with that in mind, this upcoming winter, December 21 to 25, within the next 2 weeks, we will be having our 2nd annual winter intensive in Chicago at Darussalam Seminary. We started this last year because we wanted to have a short program during holiday season for people who are busy with their own lives, university, high school, college, or work, but they need answers to the things I just shared with you. They need to understand the whole LGBTQ issue to their kids and their young adults and explain to them. This issue, what I just said, is a very, 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 very big issue of a reason why people are leaving Islam. Remember I told you how those kids asked one of the students of mine, are you a homophobe? So what happens that today's kids are saying that if Islam says you can't do this, then Islam is intolerant. My imam is intolerant, my mom and dad are intolerant, and I want nothing to do with intolerance. I'm a humanist. I love humans, I love people, I care about people. So this issue, this one issue, is actually one huge factor of why people are saying, I'd rather not conform to any religion. Because how come you discriminate against people? Ye apne bache,
Our own kids are saying like this. So we have to explain to them that, hey, just because we feel something is incorrect, that absolutely doesn't mean we're bigots. Absolutely doesn't mean we are labeling anyone anything. There's a moral code that we have to follow, and everyone has to follow, that comes from a source. This is our source. This is our moral code. And this is where our values come from. That has to be explained to them nicely. So that's one of the topics we're going to be covering in the winter intensive. We're going to be covering atheism along with that. We will inshallah be covering the fiqh of marriage and divorce. We'll also be covering the science of hadith, the authenticity of hadith, because all of the deviant sects out there who want to prove their deviancy through, what are they doing? They're removing the hadith and proving it through the Quran. Okay? So if we lose the hadith, then unfortunately we've got a big problem. And then we're going to have Islamic holistic health with Sheikh Hashim Ahmed, emotional, spiritual, mental and physical health. That's going to be covered. So Hafiz Mohsin's got some flyers as well for the winter intensive. Take a look at that inshallah. And this is December 21 to 25, mashallah, Bhai is here. So there are other brothers I had shared with this. Some of you may know about this program coming up. That I had, you might have gotten emails from us. So this, this is something, alhamdulillah, last year we did it. We had about 225 students from across the country. That was the first time we did it. This year, inshallah, we should be expecting about 300. We really don't have space beyond 300 to be able to accommodate that. But what we've done differently this year is we've done a parallel session for younger kids. 8 to 14-year-olds will have a separate class. For boys separate, for girls separate. 8 to 14-year-olds will have their own separate winter intensive relating to some of these topics, including imaniyat and things that I'm talking about, but watered down to their level. And seerah as well, we covered for the kids. And then the girls, mashallah, it's awesome fiqh. Fiqh of makeup, right? Fiqh of menstruation, fiqh of salah, women leadership, right? These type of things, alhamdulillah, for our girls. We're going to be covering for the 8 to 14-year-old girls. And then for, of course, 15 and above, they'll have the same class for all adults, all adult males and all adult females. And then we have babysitting as well. Arranged 10 to 6. The class runs 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. with lunch, everything on site. It is Saturday, December 21 to Wednesday, December 25. So we would like, inshallah, a group of people. Unfortunately, the timing of this program was such that I guess most people couldn't stay. And I had tried to get a better slot, but it didn't work out for this weekend, and I won't be able to make it back again. So I expect you all to be ambassadors for something of this, because I travel every weekend to 10, 15 communities, and I'm not aware of anyone who's doing a program like this. Let me just put it like that. And the need is everywhere. Just last night, a scholar, one of the local ulama here, he said, my God, I had no idea that Islam does this. I thought it was just a madrasa or something like that. And he says, literally, when people come to me, I try to give them basic solutions, but I had no resource. I didn't know that there's a group of scholars whose whole focus is the issues that you have raised about. Alhamdulillah, we're so blessed to have an amazing group of talented scholars and teachers, over 40 teachers, who specialize in these topics, amongst other topics as well, along visiting speakers. So we would like you can pass that on. You can please take a flyer, and on the back, and also along with that, if you don't get our emails, I don't know if many of you get our emails, do you not? Right? Some of you may not. So if you don't already receive emails, just give your email address on the sign-up sheet, and inshallah, we'll send you the information, and then you can, whoever's present here, please pass it on to others. I can leave some flyers if one of you wants, any of you planning to come this winter? Any of you planning to come this winter? You will try, mashallah. Anyone else planning to come this winter? Alhamdulillah. Who else? These two brothers. Bhai, your name? Harun Bhai. And aapka naam bhai? Qamar. जी माशाल्लाह हारून भाई and कमर भाई intending भाई यार आप दोबारा नाम मैं भूल गया फुरकान भाई जी okay. So if you don't receive our emails, please just give your email address there. And the purpose of taking the cell phone number is to receive, whenever we have our programs and lectures, we'll send you a YouTube link and a reminder of the program, so you can listen to it by pressing the button. That's the only reason we're taking your number or email address, so that you receive a reminder of the program. So alhamdulillah, we have Harun Bhai, Qamar Bhai, and Furqan Bhai, alhamdulillah. There. Abid Bhai, your plan? Inshallah. So Nika, you got 4 brothers. You don't have much time. We have 10 days left, taqriban, right? 10 days, approximately. So what we need, if we're serious about it, these things don't happen overnight. We have to plan. Every single thing we plan. for something of this sort. Because Hazari Bhai from Darul Islah who came last week, I mean, in the snowstorm, literally he called me, he said, Mufti Sahib, there's a full snowstorm. Myself, my daughter, my wife, we just left. It's going to take us 12 hours to make dua for safe arrival. MashaAllah, he drove, he came. You can ask him, you guys know him. Alhamdulillah, and he felt like this was such a beautiful, beneficial program. Alhamdulillah, for him and for his daughter as well. So we want you to please, make mashwara over here. I'm here available. Come up together. How are you want to travel? You want to drive? Or you want to fly? And then, if some few responsible people, if you can please use the next weekend Isha announcement, Fajr announcement, Jummah announcement, and I can leave a few hundred of these flyers, just take responsibility of passing it out. Because, dear brothers, this is not I'm not inviting you to an Arabic program, which we do as well. Because you could do Arabic programs here, maybe. I'm inviting you to something which unfortunately is not being done in too many places or any other places. And on top of the knowledge, they're going to get the environment, which is the key thing. The suhbah, the companionship, the brotherhood, the sisterhood. That's something that is really, really beneficial, and I hope, inshallah, you all, if you're not able to make it for this year, then plan to come for our annual retreat, which is going to be the weekend of April 11th. We have some calendars downstairs. On the way out, please take a calendar as well, a April 2020 calendar. You are all aware that we started 18 months ago the construction of our madrasa building, because we have all our classes running inside the masjid. 350 students, 40 teachers, 24 different classes inside our masjid. So we have classes everywhere, in the shoe rack area, in the elevator, in the janazah room, under the stairs, in all our lobbies. Alhamdulillah, everywhere there's class. So that's why 2 years ago we started planning that we need to, 2.5 years we started planning we need to build a madrasa building, campus, seminary campus. Alhamdulillah, 18 months ago, last Ramadan, not this Ramadan, the Ramadan before, 2018, we started construction. And in 18 months, we have completed 80% of the 65,000 square foot facility. You can see pictures of it downstairs in the calendar. So we're expecting to open it, inshallah, in April. 5 months left. So it is nothing but barakah and nothing but the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At this rate, at this speed, to be able to accomplish a massive structure which will house 22 new classrooms, a huge library, a cafeteria, massive cafeteria, a running track, a indoor basketball court, fitness center for boys, fitness center for girls, separate conference room, babysitting room, all of these blessings, mashallah, within 18 months, and inshallah opening in April. So if you don't already contribute on a monthly basis, do so. We got next 5 months. On the way out, contribute something. You're not going to get opportunities like this to build something of this sort in this land, in this country, on a daily basis. This is once in a lifetime opportunity. So if you haven't already done so, or if you have anything on the way out, definitely, whether it's 100, whether it's 1,000, whatever it is, swipe your credit card or put your cash, do something so you can have the share. Alhamdulillah, Allah brought this institution to where it is, maybe without any of us participating. And most definitely He can complete it without us participating. We're doing it for our own benefit, so that we get the ajr and we have a share in all the work that's taking place here. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept your sitting here, my coming here. Anything beneficial was said, it was from Allah. May Allah grant me and all of you the tawfiq to put it into practice. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to raise our children in the best possible manner. And may Allah save us and our progeny from having doubts in our iman, from leaving the deen, from leaving the sunnah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us death with iman. Raise us with iman under the banner of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and allow us entry into Jannah for those without any reckoning. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. And tonight's what's the place called? In Princeton, the masjid. MCGP, right? Okay, yeah. So this just got set this morning after Fajr, because my Isha was free. MCGP, I know it's about 45 minutes, 50 minutes from here. But it's going to be a very, 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 very unique program. I'm going to be doing, inshallah, tabarak wa ta'ala, what's called a maqra, a khatam. A maqra is usually a gathering when you read an entire book and give ijazah to those who are attending, as long as if you have ijazah from your teachers going back to the author of the book. So we are going to be doing what we call a recital, a maqra of a book known as Al-Hizb Al-A'zam wal-Wird Al-Afkham of Mullah Ali Qari rahimahumullah. Some of us maybe know it, or our wives know it, or our mothers know it. This is a book that is a beautiful collection of 200 du'as of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. The dua of Ta'if, the dua of the conquest of Mecca, the dua of Tahajjud, the dua of the 15th night of Sha'ban. Du'as that he made in his life. Powerful du'as. With the translation in English you can follow along. But alhamdulillah, we're going to read the entire book. Usually people take a long time to read it. But alhamdulillah, you'll be able to witness the entire cover to cover. We'll read the whole thing. And at the end, we'll give ijazah to everyone. Verbal ijazah, because alhamdulillah, I got it from Mufti Abdurrahman Maghera last Hajj, who has got it back all the way to the author. And I have some select number of books as well that I brought with me, about 30 or so. So we're going to keep this tonight at 8:30 at the Muslim Muslim MGCP, right? MCGP, Imam Mendes's masjid. After 8:30, there's a refreshments, and come with time. So if you take a little rest and come, because this type of thing you haven't been to before. Last weekend I was in Arizona. They never had a maqra in their entire state. So mashallah, it was Black Friday. It was after Maghrib and Black Friday. Alhamdulillah, we had about 80 people. And they were so happy. Those brothers who came, all walks of life, they came and they said this was so much amazing spirituality. So, and even if one of those dua gets accepted on our behalf, that in this gathering, alhamdulillah, our lives are made. So please, try your best to come. I don't know who can I send tonight's flyer to? Is there anyone here who can share it in the community? Okay. I had messaged you before, right? Yeah, okay. So I'll share that with you and you can share it. Maybe even if 5-6 people come, that would be great, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Subhanallah, subhanallah, alhamdulillah, la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. One of the books, the brother's asking, is there any book you can recommend for us to read at home on these issues? So one of the good starter books is Brother Hamza Soros from UK. His book, Subhanallah. Muhsin, Brother Hamza's book, it's slipping my mind. Divine Reality, right? Yeah, Divine Reality. You can purchase it on Amazon or download a PDF of it, right? Divine Reality of Brother Hamza Soros, Stsoris. He's a convert from UK. So he very nicely, he's got a revised edition of it. A lot of these topics are done beautifully, are covered in that book. You can if your kids are too young, you can read it yourself, and then dumb it down for them. Yes, the Divine Reality. It's black with white and yellow font, the Divine Reality. God, Islam, and the Mirage of Atheism. That's what it's called. God, Islam, and the Mirage of Atheism. One of you needs to be Amir of the group. Make one who's Pakka wants to come, and then inshallah. Who would like to be Amir and responsible for the group that's coming to the Winter Intensive? Without that, doesn't work. Brothers, this place is further or Arizona? Tell me. Arizona, right? MashaAllah, within last weekend, alhamdulillah, 20 brothers got ready. We're booking their tickets and flying all the way to Arizona to Chicago for this program. They have no ulama or programs of madaris or whatnot there. But alhamdulillah, that's happening. So you need one responsible person. He'll get the ajr of everyone else. The best is that we are the educators. We know our kids better than we know the teacher. So if we get this information ourselves, we can package it based on each one's needs. As parents, we know our kids the best. We have the knowledge ourselves and the power with that. Oh, you do? Okay. Yeah, so those of you who don't already follow it, just go to Masjid DS at YouTube and subscribe to it. I think most of you already are. There's a lot of good stuff under that. That's always good.
right.